از کشورهای همسایه که مورد حمله قرار گرفتن از طرف ایران.
And that is Iran's president today, addressing his neighboring countries directly, apologizing for attacking them and ordering Iranian forces to stop. He also posted on X today, saying Iran is not attacking friends, but rather U.S. military facilities in the region.
Yeah, straight to the airport. Oh my God.
And there are reports of strikes near the Dubai International Airport, one of the world's busiest travel hubs. The airport suspended operations earlier in the day after attacks from Iran. Well, we are entering into the second week of the war in the Middle East, and the fighting continues with no let-up in sight. CBC's David Common is tracking the very latest developments from Tel Aviv.
Well, this is a remarkable statement done in a pre-televised address and then repeated on social media. Iran's president saying sorry to all of the neighboring nations. He doesn't actually use names when talking about those nations, so we're left to guess who exactly he's talking to and also what the consequence of this apology might be. He's saying sorry for the attacks that Iran has carried out on neighboring nations and saying that if Iran is not attacked by those nations, it will not respond. So what is going on? Why is Iran's president doing this? A couple of things to note. He is a moderate. He is not one of the hardline, the main rulers. This could be him trying to signal to those Gulf states that often host U.S. military bases, trying to get them to pressure the Americans to stop the war. It could be him identifying himself as a moderate, perhaps someone the Americans might talk to, might see as a potential viable leadership candidate in the future. The point is, we don't know at this point what the outcome will be from this particular entente, if you will, and we don't even know if it will work. One thing we do know, it is not directed at Israel or the United States. The conflict between those three, Iran, Israel, and the United States, continuing at this hour.
David, let me ask you about the impact, if any, there has been from that address. Are you seeing any response?
Not at this point, except from the U.S. president, who, of course, has called for Iran's unconditional surrender. He's calling them losers this morning, saying they are set to be destroyed and that there is even more attacks coming their way. In terms of the Gulf state neighbors, I'm sure they will be assessing what this means. These are uncomfortable times for many of those Persian Gulf states. They are, in many cases, furious with Iran, but that does not necessarily mean that they are pleased with the Americans either. It is a difficult time right across the region with so many countries being engulfed in some way or another with this. At the same time, we have seen attacks, for instance, on Dubai's airport. Over the course of the day, we've seen an oil tanker purportedly lit on fire during what Iran says was an attack off the coast of Kuwait. And so the question really is, do we see a diminution in the amount of violence and the number of attacks being carried out by Iran? Does what the president's saying out loud actually come to fruition? We're also continuing to see significant attacks inside Iran by both the United States and Israel. Residents in that city, as we get back to darkness, describe last night and the night before as the worst of the war when it comes to airstrikes, talking about Tehran in particular, the main airport struck in that city, and continuing to see many targets hit by both American and Israeli missiles, drones, and warplanes. And the expectation is that is likely to continue as we see more and more nations up their readiness status in terms of an ability to respond militarily. That particularly involves a number of European nations. And we are, for Canadians stranded in this region, starting to see the beginnings of more flights leaving from certain countries that to this point had been either closed airspace or very heavily restricted.
CBC's David Common reporting from Tel Aviv.